Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review, an out-of-date Dynamite review. This is going to be a review of the May 12th edition of Dynamite. And before I start the review, I just want to say you guys are going to be getting two videos from me today. Of course, the Dynamite review, which you guys are seeing, and of course later tonight, the SmackDown review. So enjoy the double upload today, guys. But Dynamite from this week, I thought it was a great show. I thought it was a very good, 2 hours of, good wrestling. But we had three titles on the line. We had the IWGP United States Championship on the line, the World Tag Team titles, and the TNT Championship, which was defended in the main event. So we saw Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata, and that was for the IWGP United States Championship. The Young Bucks versus SCU for the World Tag Team titles. We saw Thunderosa in action. And in the main event, the TNT Championship was on the line. Miro versus Darby Allen. Darby Allen defending the TNT Championship. Well, overall, it was a great Dynamite this week. Very good show. Really enjoyed it. So let's get on with the review. So Dynamite kicked off on Wednesday night with Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata. And this was for the IWGP United States Championship. Of course, the IWGP United States Championship is a New Japan title. Moxley, of course, defending the title. And I liked how the IWGP United States Championship was getting some attention this week on Dynamite. For people who don't watch New Japan. I don't watch New Japan, though, but, it was good seeing, the title get defended on Dynamite. And Jon Moxley, he ended up coming out along with Eddie Kingston. Moxley ended up coming out to the song Wild Thing by the Trogs, Wild Thing. You make my heart sing. That Wild Thing song, which is a very good classic song. So I don't know if that was just for this night only that Moxley came out to. I don't know if they're going to use Wild Thing, as of now, when Moxley ends up coming out on Dynamite all the time. But after Moxley ended up coming out, we had Eugene Nagada. He came out along with Ren Narita. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But this was a very good match here. Liked how the way this match flowed. Never seen Eugene Nagata wrestle before, but after seeing this match, I think he's a pretty good wrestler, in my opinion. So we had the match start off with Moxley and Nagata. They end up having a stare down, and they started throwing shots at each other. And both of them ended up out on the floor. Moxley then took control of the match. He ended up throwing Nagata into the barricade. So we saw a New Japan guy there, Rocky Romero, who was out there. He was in the crowd. We saw Lance Archer and Jake Roberts watching the match. So Moxley was then throwing kicks to Nagata's chest. He went for the cover. Nagata kicked out at 2. Nagata ended up trying to go for the exploder to Moxley, but Moxley ended up reversing out of it. He was then taking some kicks to the chest. So Nagata ended up faking a drop kick to Moxley, but then he ended up hitting the basement drop kick. Nagata was taking control of the match. He ended up bringing Moxley up to the top rope. He ended up hitting a very good looking avalanche exploder suplex from the top. And Nagata did a kick to Moxley's chest went for the cover. Moxley kicked out at 2. So we had Nagata was looking to go for an arm break. Moxley was able to roll to the bottom rope to break up the hold. Nagata came back, delivered an enziguri to Moxley. Moxley ended up bouncing off the ropes, and then he clobbered Nagata with a sliding lariat, which I like when Moxley does that. Moxley was then looking to go for a bulldog choke. He couldn't get it on Nagata. Looked like Moxley ended up having a cut on his cheek because he was bleeding a little bit. So Moxley ended up winning the match. He ended up delivering the paradigm shift to Nagata. So there you go. Moxley ended up winning the match, retaining the IWGP United States Championship. Post-match, we had Moxley end up calling in Ren Narada to check on Nagata. Moxley ended up raising up the IWGP United States Championship. Moxley ended up putting the title down, and he showed respect to Yuji Nagata. He ended up bowing to Nagata, ends up giving a full bow to him. So Nagata then returned the favor. Both Moxley and Nagata end up bumping heads. They end up getting up together. Moxley then raised up Nagata's arms, and the crowd really loved that. You know, good respect for both of these guys. You know, but it was a good moment there. But overall, this was a very good match. It was very entertaining. Eugene Nagata, I think he's a very good wrestler. Like I said, after watching this match with him, like I said, I don't watch New Japan, but it was a good match between the both of them. And then we went backstage. Alex Marvez was talking with Ortiz, Hager, and Sammy Guevara. Ortiz ended up saying that Santana got arrested and detained because he used the fork in the Blood and Guts match last week, which this was only for storyline. Santana didn't get arrested. Santana, I heard, got sick, so that's why he missed Dynamite this week. So they were just saying that to cover up that he's sick. So Ortiz wanted to say that the Inner Circle had the Blood and Guts match won, and a strange twist of fate, had at the end with the Pinnacle winning the Blood and Guts match. So Guevara and Jake Hager, they both ended up saying that they won a rematch with the Pinnacle. Guevara ended up saying to the Pinnacle to give them a rematch, or they will put the Pinnacle in their grave. So that was basically that. So it looks like the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle are not done as of yet. So then we had Cody Rhodes ended up coming out. Cody Rhodes headed to the ring. He was delivering an announcement for Double or Nothing. Rhodes ended up saying that it's fair to poke fun at things, like the election, or what to do during an anthem. He went on to say that he's always been proud to be an American. So Rhodes ended up mentioning Anthony Ogogo. He ended up saying that Anthony Ogogo has run down America every chance he gets. Remember last week, Ogogo ended up attacking Rhodes, and he punched Rhodes, laid him out. He then took out the UK flag, the British flag. He put the flag on top of Cody Rhodes, covering him with the flag. So Rhodes ended up saying, although Anthony Ogogo has a visa, he makes green dollars from here. Rhodes went on to say that it's his right to do that, though. because the argument is what makes us what we are. So Cody Rhodes was like, Anthony, you didn't come here to live the English dream. So Rhodes ended up talking about more about America, and he wanted to face Ogogo. He wants to face Ogogo at Double or Nothing. Cody Rhodes ended up saying that Ogogo will not be wrestling the American Nightmare. It will be the American Dream. So Rhodes wants to say, at Double or Nothing, it's going to be Cody Rhodes, the American Dream Cody Rhodes, versus Anthony Ogogo. So that's set in stone for Double or Nothing. That's going to be a pretty good match there at Double or Nothing. So that was that, but pretty good segment from Cody Rhodes. Good announcement on that. What he had to say, about America, and he wanted to say about his wife Brandy, having, their child. So very fine words that Cody ended up saying. So then we had the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, versus SCU, Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Now, if SCU lost the match, they would have to disband as a tag team. So that means Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian as SCU will be no more. They will be singles competitors going forward if they lost the match. So the Bucks end up coming out along with Don Callis. They had the Good Brothers there, Gallows and Anderson. Don Callis was on commentary for the match. So the match started off with Frankie Kazarian and Nick Jackson. And Kazarian ended up knocking Nick Jackson around. Christopher Daniels came in. He ended up putting Matt Jackson down. Got help from Frankie Kazarian. So we had Matt and Nick started to gain some momentum in the match. Kazarian ended up getting tossed into the barricade. And Christopher Daniels got powerbombed by Matt Jackson on the apron. So Nick Jackson then ended up delivering a splash on top of Christopher Daniels. So we had Frank Kazarian end up coming in later on. Matt Jackson ended up trying to get involved. And Matt Jackson ended up taking a double knees from Frank Kazarian. Christopher Daniels then delivered a splash in the corner on Nick Jackson. SCU, they were both looking to go for the BME, but Matt ended up shoving Christopher Daniels down to the floor. Frank Kazarian then ended up delivering a leg lariat to Matt Jackson, which Matt Jackson ended up crashing out to the floor. We had Nick Jackson end up delivering knee strikes and a bulldog and a facebuster, a springboard facebuster on Frankie Kazarian. So Nick Jackson delivered a super kick to Christopher Daniels, which sent Christopher Daniels headfirst into the ring post. And because of that, we saw Christopher Daniels bleeding. He was busted wide open. He was bleeding like crazy. So Frank Kazarian then ended up launching Nick Jackson into the mat, went for the cover, and Nick Jackson ended up kicking out of two. We had the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. They ended up distracting the referee. Brandon Cutler was also with the Good Brothers. Frank Kazarian was looking to go for a powerbomb on Matt Jackson. But right here, at this point of the match, I wasn't expecting this. But Frank Kazarian ended up hitting the Styles Clash on Matt Jackson. And that was pretty cool to see. AJ Styles is probably proud of Frank Kazarian for doing that. If Styles end up watching this match. So we had Frankie Kazarian end up covering Matt Jackson, but Nick ended up breaking it up. So at the end of the match, the Young Bucks ended up winning, retaining the AEW World Tag Team titles. So now, because of that, Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, SCU, both of them have to disband as a tag team. So Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian are going to be singles competitors now. But it was a pretty good run for the both of them as a tag team. But overall, this was a good match between the Bucks and SCU. Really enjoyed it. So post-match, we saw Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley. They ended up going into the Elite's dressing room. They started destroying the room. And the audio when they were in there was very muffled, in my opinion. Like, you couldn't really hear a little bit of like what they were saying because it was so muffled, the sound. So both Moxley and Kingston destroyed the room. Then they cut back to the ring. Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, they were hugging for the last time for them being a tag team. So that was a pretty cool little moment there. Yeah, but they were a pretty good tag team, in my opinion. So then we saw Dasha. She was talking with Christian Cage backstage about his issues with Team Taz. Christian ended up bringing up Taz's critique of his matches. He also wanted to say that Taz was once a bad man, but he's not going to step through the ropes now. Christian went on to say that next week Taz can send any member to him, whether it be Brian Cage, whether it be Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Hook. So Christian ended up saying that for Double or Nothing, he will be in the Casino Battle Royal. So then Matt Sydal ends up showing up, and Matt Sydal ended up telling Christian that not only is he going to win the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing, he's already signed on for the match next week. So there you go. But overall, this was a pretty decent backstage segment. So next week is going to be Christian versus Matt Sydal. So we're not going to be seeing a member of Team Taz face Christian next week. So there you go. It's going to be Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal next week. So then we had Orange Cassidy versus Pac. This was a number one contenders match. Whoever won the match will get to face Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. So this was a pretty decent match here. Orange Cassidy started off the match facing off with Pac. Pac ended up coming out along with Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix. Of course, they're known as Death Triangle. Orange Cassidy ended up coming out along with Big Trent and Chris Statlander, the Alien. So Orange Cassidy ended up facing off with Pac. Orange Cassidy took off his shades. He ended up putting them on Pac. And Pac didn't really like that. So Pac ended up taking off the shades. He breaks the shades in half, throws the shades down. Cassidy then ended up ducking a strike from Pac. And out of the blue, Orange Cassidy then hit the beach break on Pac. Cassidy went for the cover. Pac ended up kicking out at 2. Pac ended up rolling out to the floor. Cassidy had his hands in his pockets, and he nailed Pac with a suicide dive out to the floor. So it was then revealed that Orange Cassidy had another pair of shades, and he put them back on. So we had Pac and Cassidy. They were battling on the outside. Pac ended up taking out Cassidy, throwing him into the barricade. Pac then tossed Orange Cassidy back into the ring. He ended up heading up to the top rope. Pac then nailed a shotgun dropkick to Orange Cassidy. And then we saw Pac end up going back up, hit another shotgun dropkick to Cassidy. And Pac ended up hitting another shotgun dropkick to Orange Cassidy's back. So that's 3 shotgun dropkicks that Orange Cassidy received from Pac. So Pac ended up going for the cover. Orange Cassidy kicked out at 2. Pac ended up going up to the top again because Orange Cassidy was down. Cassidy ended up rolling out of the way to the other side of the ring. So Pac then ran over, started stomping on Orange Cassidy. Pac ended up climbing up to the top. Cassidy ended up rolling under the turnbuckle to avoid Pac. And Cassidy ended up giving a thumbs up like. So Pac ended up jumping down. And Orange Cassidy sent Pac face first into the second turnbuckle. So Don Callis then came out. Don Callis was telling Pac to hurry up and get this match over with, so Kenny Omega could know who he's going to face, whether it's Pac or Orange Cassidy. So then Kenny Omega comes out of nowhere. He ends up hitting Pac with the World Championship. Aubrey Edwards was distracted by Don Callis. So we had both Orange Cassidy and Pac down. So Aubrey Edwards, who was the referee, she was doing the 10 count, which she ended up counting to 10, and so she ended up calling the match. So the match ended in a double count out because of what Omega did to Pac, laying him out with the title. Post-match, Don Callis ended up saying that since Pac and Orange Cassidy didn't win the match, it means that Kenny Omega is going to have the night off at Double or Nothing. So Omega was like to Don Callis, "Oh, I'm feeling a road trip." So Don Callis then ended up calling Orange Cassidy and Pac both a bunch of losers, and that Pac and Orange Cassidy don't deserve a shot at Kenny Omega for the World Championship. So Tony Schiavone ended up coming on stage. He was on the mic. He interrupted Don Callis. Tony Schiavone ended up saying to Callis and Omega that by Tony Khan, he was informed by Tony Khan that at Double or Nothing, Kenny Omega is going to be defending the AEW World Championship in a 3-way match. So it's going to be Kenny Omega versus Pac versus Orange Cassidy. So Omega and Callis, they didn't like that decision. Omega was like freaking out. So Omega was like, "Oh, back to Winnipeg." So there you go. That's going to be taking place at Double or Nothing. 3-way match, Kenny Omega versus Pac and Orange Cassidy. Should be a good match. And all I know is Kenny Omega is going to be walking out still the world champion. I mean, you really think they're going to take the title off of Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing when they're treating him very well? You know, he's the AAA Mega Champion. He's the Impact Champion and the AEW World Champion. I'm like, you could tell that at Double or Nothing, that Gallows and Anderson or the Bucks are going to do something, and Kenny Omega is going to still walk out as the AEW World Champion. Kenny Omega is not losing the World Championship anytime soon. Well, overall, it was a decent match, with Orange Cassidy and Pac. So then we saw the Bucks and the Good Brothers They were in their dressing room, which was destroyed by Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And the audio here was muffled still in their dressing room, but we heard it pretty okay, where we hear Doc Gallows end up saying that he knows it was Moxley and Eddie Kingston who destroyed their room. Matt Jackson ended up saying that it's fine because they already finished off SCU. Matt Jackson ended up saying that next week, why don't they finish off the other top contenders? And those top contenders are the Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Matt Jackson then mocked Brian Pillman Jr., wanted to be like his dad. So Matt then continues saying that Moxley and Eddie Kingston should meet up with them at Double or Nothing. So it looks like that's set in stone for Double or Nothing. The Bucks versus Moxley and Eddie Kingston, as the World Tag Team titles are going to be on the line. And then we saw Alex Marvez. Alex Marvez was backstage. He ended up asking Hangman and Paige, who, of course, was with the Dark Order. He was asking Paige about his loss to Brian Cage and how Paige ended up dropping in the AEW rankings. Paige ended up telling Marvez that it was bound to happen to lose the match, and that it took 3 guys and a powerbomb to take him down. Paige wanted to say that he thinks it wasn't so much as Brian Cage beat him. It was more like Taz ended up winning. Paige wanted to say that he doesn't think a guy like Brian Cage would actually be happy with a win like that and actually earn his spot. So Hangman and Paige end up offering up the match again with Brian Cage at Double or Nothing. So there you go, another match set in stone for Double or Nothing. So then we had the Pinnacle. The Pinnacle ended up coming out for their coronation because they won Blood and Guts last week. And then we see MJF come out. He's wearing a scarf. He's wearing a nice pink suit. He's wearing a crown. The Pinnacle was escorted out by these women. So MJF ended up getting on the mic, and he ended up saying that now he's the demo god and the greatest of all time. So MJF ended up wanting everyone to bow down to the Pinnacle. He then ended up bringing up the ratings for the show last week, which Dynamite last week was the #1 show on cable. It averaged 1.09 million viewers. And the show from last week was up 18% from 889,000, from the previous week before Blood and Guts. So it was very successful in the ratings last week's Dynamite because of Blood and Guts. So that was good on them. Everyone was wanting to see Blood and Guts. Everyone was hyped to see it. Even I was hyped to see it. So MJF ended up saying that the ratings also did very well in Canada because of, he claims, it did well in Canada because of Shawn Spears being in the group. So MJF ended up saying that the Inner Circle is down only 2 guys and is confused why they would want a rematch. So MJF ended up asking the fans if they want to see a rematch. So the fans ended up cheering, and MJF ended up saying, no, you're not going to get a rematch between them and the Inner Circle. So then Tully Blanchard got on the mic. Tully ended up saying that the Pinnacle took everything the Inner Circle could give. But in the end, the Inner Circle were the ones shaking their hands to stop the match. So Tully ended up giving a little gift to the group. So totally end up giving them watches, expensive watches. I think there were $1,000 watches. So the Inner Circle end up showing up in a vehicle because there was honking going on. MJF was like, "Oh, who is honking? What's with all this honking?" So then the Inner Circle ends up showing up in a vehicle, and on the back of the vehicle, it has a little bit of the bubbly on the side. So Sammy Guevara was, I guess, holding the hose at the top of the vehicle. So MJF ends up telling them that they are done with the Inner Circle. The Pinnacle is done with the Inner Circle. So he ended up saying that he talked to his lawyer and that he's done. So Jericho was then shown climbing up from the vehicle. So Jericho was shown, he had his arm was in a cast. And Jericho ended up asking if the Inner Circle could get a rematch. He was asking MJF, does the Inner Circle get a rematch? Yes or no? So MJF ended up saying no. Jericho ended up saying, okay then. And so Sammy Guevara ends up spraying the Pinnacle, ruined the coronation. So the Pinnacle was shown flopping around the ring. Sammy Guevara was hosing them off. So MJF was pissed off. And MJF ended up saying that if the Inner Circle want a match, how about we do it at Double or Nothing? How about we have a Stadium Stampede match? And MJF ended up saying that if the Inner Circle loses, then they will have to break up forever. So MJF ended up saying to them, take it or leave it. Because Jericho was in shock. He wasn't even saying anything. So that was that. But having another Stadium Stampede match, the first one that they did, that was very entertaining. Really enjoyed the first Stadium Stampede that we saw last year. It was an awesome match last year. And hopefully this year they could live up to what they did last year, hopefully. So, but with Sammy Guevara spraying the Pinnacle, I was like, where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, Stone Cold with the beer truck. Stone Cold came out with the beer truck, of course, the classic moment, and he's spraying the corporation. He's spraying Vince and Shane and The Rock when he was a champion at the time. So I'm like, well, that's where I've seen it. They just practically stole from WWE there. Just that moment with Stone Cold and the beer truck. How original. Some stuff in AEW, they're not perfect, in my opinion. Just from seeing that, what we saw with with Sammy Guevara spraying the Pinnacle, that's Stone Cold with the beer truck. So I'm not. It just felt very forced, in my opinion. It just felt forced. I'm like, all right, they're doing this. They're taking the beer truck that Stone Cold did in the classic moment on Monday Night Raw, and just having Sammy Guevara just spray them, just spray the Pinnacle. It just felt forced, in my opinion. So then we saw Jim Ross end up doing a interview with Britt Baker. Britt Baker ended up saying that you can let something like that beat you or change you. Because they would talk about the last time Britt Baker ended up fighting Hikaru Shida and how her nose got broken. Britt Baker then went on to say that she's become the baddest bitch on the block. She ended up saying that Hikaru Shida had created a monster and now has to kill that monster. And Britt Baker was like, I'm pretty fucking hard to kill. So we saw a video that was taken earlier that day where there was a photo shoot and Britt Baker ended up attacking Hikaru Shida. So we saw the little footage of that. Britt Baker ended up saying that she just thought the current champ should be in the photo. And by that time, she'll have the Women's World Championship, not Hikaru Shida. So Jim Ross ended up asking Britt Baker if this will be a physical match with a lot of urgency. Britt Baker ended up saying that Hikaru Shida was champion during a difficult year and that she held the division. She ended up saying that she is the face, Britt Baker is the face and the pulse of the AEW Women's Division, and that she guarantees it. So there you go. That was the interview with Britt Baker. Pretty good interview there. And then we went to Thunderosa versus Jasmine Lord. This was a squash match. Thunderosa ended up winning. Thunderosa ended up hitting the shoulder breaker into the Thunder Driver to Jasmine Lord. And that was that. So then they went over what we're going to see next week on Dynamite. We're going to be seeing Serena Deeb, the NWA Women's World Champion. She is making her return. I think she was out with an injury. So it's going to be Serena Deeb versus Red Velvet for the NWA Women's World Championship. The World Tag Team titles are going to be on the line. It's going to be the Bucks versus the Varsity Blondes for the AEW World Tag Team titles. And then it's going to be Christian Cage versus Matt Sydal, which was, of course, announced earlier in the night, where Matt Sydal was like to Christian, oh, I'm your opponent next week. And then it's going to be Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn. So those are the matches that are going to be taking place next week on Dynamite. And they also announced that it's going to be Hangman and Paige versus Brian Cage. It was made official for Double or Nothing. So that's going to be pretty good there. You know, Hangman Page and Brian Cage going at it again. And then we saw Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was interviewing Jade Cargill. And Mark Sterling was making an offer to Jade Cargill, I guess, for him to manage her. So Tony Schiavone ended up asking Cargill about that offer from Mark Sterling, along with other managers, you know, like Vicky Guerrero, you know, them. So Jade Cargill ended up saying that nobody is going to handle her business. She's her own boss. So that was what Cargill had to say. But Cargill, I said before, Cargill doesn't need a manager, you know, to manage her. She's good on her own. She's great on her own. Don't give Jade Cargill a manager. She doesn't need one. So then we saw Darby Allen. Darby Allen ended up saying that he doesn't have time to think about Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky's attack last week on him. Darby ended up saying that he ended up going to Seattle and going back to the old skate park he went to. Of course, Darby Allen's hometown is Seattle. So Darby Allin ended up saying that he enjoys going back to see where he came from. He wanted to say that Miro came here and talked about breaking glass ceilings. So Darby Allin ended up saying that he doesn't buy what Miro is selling. He ended up saying that he knows who he is. But does Miro know who he is? He ended up saying that Miro can say whatever he wants about him. But he will have to admit that he is one of the toughest men he's ever stepped in the ring with. So there you go. That was what Darby Allin had to say. You know, love, you know, still the black and white, you know, film that they do for Darby Allin. So then we had the main event. Darby Allen versus Miro, TNT Championship on the line. Very good match here. So Darby Allen ended up making his way out. Miro ended up coming out first, then Darby Allen. So Miro then ended up attacking Darby Allen as Darby Allen ended up getting into the ring. So Miro was yelling at the referee to ring the bell. Miro was just beating on Darby Allen some more. He was throwing Darby Allen around outside the ring. He threw Darby Allen into the barricade. And Miro ended up hitting a vertical suplex, a really vertical suplex, which sent Darby Allen over the barricade. And Ethan Paige and Scorpio Sky were present at ringside. They were watching. And they went back into the ring, Miro and Darby Allen. The referee was checking on Darby Allen. And like I said, all this was happening. The bell didn't ring. So Miro was just striking away still on Darby Allen. So we had Darby Allen end up saying to the referee that he can go on, he could have the match. And Miro ends up delivering a kick to Darby Allen's face. Miro ended up thinking that he won the match. But Darby Allen was able to bow back on the floor, delivered a shotgun dropkick, which sent Miro into the barricade. Darby Allen then went for the coffin drop, but got caught by Miro. Miro ended up sending Darby Allen with a German suplex. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Paige ended up taking down Sting on the outside. Ended up striking Sting's knee. So, while all that was happening, the match ended up starting, though. So we had Miro delivering a gut-wrench suplex, and he was looking to go for another to Darby Allen, but Darby Allen ended up flipping out of it. Darby Allen then locked in a sleeper hold to Miro. Miro ended up trying to get the TNT Championship. The referee ended up taking it away. And then Miro ended up driving Darby Allen hard into the side of the stage. So Miro was then working over Darby Allen's arm. And he was throwing Darby Allen into the second turnbuckle. Miro then ended up slamming Darby Allen into the ropes. Darby Allen then came back, was able to deliver a chop block. And then a over-the-top stunner to Miro. Darby Allen ended up delivering another over-the-top stunner, which then put Miro down. Darby Allen then ended up going for the coffin drop. Miro ended up catching him with a waist lock, which that was crazy to see. Darby Allen going for a coffin drop. Miro just caught him and delivered the waist lock. So Miro then delivered a German suplex. Darby Allen landed on his feet. Darby Allen then ended up rolling up Miro for a 2 count. Darby Allen ended up hitting the code red, went for the cover. Miro ended up kicking out at 2. And so suddenly, Miro then delivered the game over on Darby Allen. So with that, Miro ended up winning the match. And Miro is the new TNT champion. So post-match, Sting was dealing with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Paige. Miro was smiling, and he was talking trash to the camera. Darby Allen was laid out. And so Lance Archer then ended up running out to the stage. Lance Archer was yelling at Miro. Jake Roberts ended up keeping Archer back. And that was how Dynamite went off the air. But overall, this was a good match here. Miro, the new TNT champion, was pretty awesome. And this is a chance for AEW to build up Miro and, book him right. When he was with Kip Sabian, all he was just the best man to him. now that he's away from Kip Sabian, now is when they got to start, booking Miro right. Have him be this champion who, would want to defend the title every single week, who, is this, aggressive guy in the ring, and who's a guy who loves a fight, So, really glad that Miro is the TNT champion, and AEW starts booking the guy right. So, but overall, Dynamite from this week was a very good, entertaining show. 2 hours worth of good wrestling and entertainment. So anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later tonight for SmackDown.